Welcome to Reader Seeks Romance Channel's Romance Roundup. I am Liz Donatelli.
And I'm Libby Kay, author of the sweet romance series Buckeye Falls.
Libby and I are sharing our sports romance book recs. Watch Romance Roundup on Reader Seeks Romance Channel and subscribe on YouTube. Listen to Romance Roundup on Podbean and all podcast apps. Libby, let the roundup begin.
Okay, giddy up, Liz. Here we go. So the first one I'm going to talk about is football related since we just had the Super Bowl. I thought that would be helpful. And I cannot stress enough for anything I'm about to discuss. I am not a sports fan, so I am assuming that everything mentioned is accurate to the sport. So if it's not, disclaimer time.
Can I just say real quickly, I have a prediction about the sports romance subgenre.
Ooh.
I feel as if we're going to see a lot more football romance.
Yes, you beat me to the punch, Liz, because I was now, okay, and by when I say I watched the game, I ate chips and dip with my husband and was like on my phone while the game was on. I'm not, yay, everyone had a good time, whatever.
Yeah,
But
I only watched the last few minutes. Yeah. I think the tide is going to shift because as I was doing research, going through my own already read list, and also what's coming out. It's like, there's so much hockey. I'm like, know what? I think the tide is going to turn towards football thanks to Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift's romance.
Yes, there is no way. And I was thinking, and I knew because I fell down a rabbit hole on like it was Reddit or something. But I think whenever they get engaged, if they get engaged, it's even going to be bigger than we think because I just think it's going to be crazy.
Oh, yeah. I think a whole other genre will be created when they get engaged.
Yes.
It'll then become the football celebrity romance genre. It'll be like there's two celebrities because usually there's the celebrity and the normie.
Yes.
So I
or
think
the sports star and the normie. So yeah.
So I think it's going to be two celebrity romance sports. That's what I think.
I think right now, as we are talking, there are at least a half a dozen authors working on it right now. There is no way they aren't working on it. I'm telling you.
Yes, 2025, man. Stay tuned.
Yeah, it's going to be everywhere. And we're going to be on the cutting edge here, Liz.
All right. So now continue on.
Yes. Okay. So the first book I have is it's actually a football player and a normie, as we just said, which I'm going to use that throughout the episode. This one is The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. This came out from Dell back in August of 21. I am obviously not new to Sarah Adams. You've heard me talk about how much I love her books before, specifically her When in Rome series. This is a standalone. It does have another book coming out. It's not being listed as a sequel, and they're not directly tied together on Goodreads yet, so I don't know how they're going to do it. But the rule book is coming out this spring, and it does feature a teammate of our hero from this story. So to me, that sounds like a series, but they're just saying they're connected. So whatever. Right. Either way, I'm ready to read it. So with the cheat sheet, we have some of everybody's favorite tropes. We have friends to lovers and fake dating are the two mainstays of the story. So the cheat sheet follows a famous NFL quarterback, Nathan, and his best friend, Bree. And she's just a regular old person. She runs a dance studio. They've been friends for years. It's a dual point of view, and I really like how Adams wrote their two perspectives. I'm not going to give too much away here, but it does have what we usually get with friends to lovers, which is like, oh geez, I really like him, but I'm afraid if I make a move it'll ruin this perfect friendship. So I will say, like, and again, this is not a critique because this is part of the reasons I like the friends to lovers, is you know exactly what you're going to get, but that is strong throughout the book, is this whole push and pull. I do like how it was done this time, though, with them having to like figure out how to do it. So long story short, Nathan and Bree have been dating other people. And at the beginning of the story, they both find themselves single. So Bree is like hyper aware of everything Nathan does. And she's so, worked up about not letting him see how she feels. And spoiler alert, vice versa. So everything seems to be going fine for Bree until she gets drunk one night and accidentally spills her guts, including her feelings for Nathan, to an undercover, and I'm just saying undercover, it's a TMZ reporter who doesn't say they're a reporter while she's drunk in a bar. So the story breaks, and Nathan's agent thinks that they should fake date and kind of lean into this narrative. And that is the last darn thing I'm going to say about it, because I don't want to ruin any of the twists or the plot points. But it is a definitely more with the friends to lovers than the fake dating. I'm not saying that there's not
Okay.
elements of that, but the part that's really cute with the fake dating is where we get the name of the book, the cheat sheet. And this is where I love when there's LOL moments, because I'm noticing either my sense of humor is shifting or books are getting funnier, because I found myself laughing in a couple of scenes with this one where Nathan and his teammates work on an actual cheat sheet to get Bree to fall in love with him while they're fake dating, because he still thinks they're just friends. So
Oh.
it was cute. There was some steam to it. Again, strong secondary characters between people that Bree knows and then his teammates. There was just enough football to make it a sports romance, but not too much that I got bored.
I love that. And I'm glad you mentioned the amount of sportiness, because I will also be talking about the level of sportiness in my book recs.
Oh, excellent.
So it was just the right amount for someone like you who doesn't really care too much about the game.
Yes.
Do you actually, are there scenes in which a game is taking place, or maybe even,
Yes.
okay.
Yes,
I
there
wanted to
are
know if it was that
scenes, and
level.
I
Okay.
won't give away what happens, but there is a game, and
Okay.
and actually they've mentioned her coming to a lot of his games, but there is a very pivotal scene at one of his games. So
Got it.
it's more than just, oh, and he happens to be a football player. There are definitely and the thing that was
Okay.
interesting is I can't remember, I don't think it was a real team they mentioned specifically, but it's always funny, all the NFL talk. I always wonder, like, because I've read other sports where they don't use the same acronyms, and I'm always curious as a writer, do you have to get permission to use the acronym NFL if you're using a fake team? Like, I thought about that when I was working on my notes for the show, and I didn't know.
That's a really good question, because even the word Super Bowl is
Yes,
trademarked.
yes,
When I worked in advertising, we could not mention Super Bowl. We had to call it the
interesting.
big game.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So, because we did not pay for the right to include that in our ads. So I was wondering, because there's even been books that I've read, like, oh, they mentioned Super Bowl. I'm like, hey, don't they have to pay for that even?
Yep.
And to your point, NFL also, would you need to? So I don't know what the ins and out of that legality is, but
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
I mean, and it's as a reader, I didn't care. I'm like, okay, that's authentic enough for me.
Now, do you think us mentioning it on the show that these books will get penalized? Someone will
Oh God.
sue these couple NFL and Super Bowl will start suing the books that we mention.
Talk about that's a double-edged sword. I'd love to have that much power over the romance industry, but the guilt I would feel is overwhelming.
The power we'd feel.
If only they hadn't mentioned us on Romance Roundup.
Ay.
So yeah, but either way, it was a really enjoyable book. I strongly recommend the cheat sheet. It was also a quick read. I think it was, I forget the page count, but it was, I mean, lightning quick. I read it in a day and a half.
Nice.
So it was just perfect, perfect length, perfect speed, perfect pacing. So going from my perfection onto yours, Liz, what's your first sports book today?
Ooh, well, this is going to be in the world of boxing.
Oh, fun.
And it is hot, hot, hot. I
Ooh.
believe that we mentioned in a previous episode that author Mary Farmer had referred to one of her books as having all of the eggplants,
Yes, I
all of
do
the
remember that.
eggplant emojis.
Yes.
Well, this book has all of the eggplant emojis. And according to my notes, apparently the combined size of both eggplants in this menage a trois poly relationships exceeded 20 inches. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, so is
Triple knockout.
Triple Lockout is book 3 in Make Mine a Menage series by Jody Redford. So I actually reviewed this book, which came out in 2019. I reviewed it for the Romance Reads website, which I don't even know if they exist anymore. But Triple Knockout is a BDSM, MMM, MF poly relationship. Now, just a quick aside of what that means. So it's male, male, female, which means that there's two men and a female involved in this poly relationship. MMF is different than MFM. So
Oh, is
MM,
it?
yes, MMF means that all three of them are together, but the men are also together.
Oh,
An MFM romance would be there's two men and a woman, and those two men are, there for the pleasure of the woman, but they do not touch. They are
okay.
not romantically involved.
Okay.
So in Triple Knockout, we've got two men and a woman, and they're all involved together, and then the men are also romantically involved. So I
Okay.
just wanted to
Seriously,
explain.
thank you for explaining that because today I learned I had no idea that there was a difference between, I just
Yes.
assumed those three were interchangeable.
No,
Insert joke here.
see, dun, dun. I think that some people do use it interchangeably, but I learned a while ago that there is a difference. So anyway,
Okay. Thank you.
that's my 2 cents on that. But on to Triple Knockout by Jodie Redford. Jodie Redford is, in my opinion, the queen of kink. I've read a number of her books.
Mm.
She has got kink down to a science. Um, I should add that there's also the trope of off limits and it's brothers' best friends.
Oh.
Okay. And I'll explain. For years, Allie has had a hot and heavy crush on her brother Eric's hunky best friends, Bo and Van. And Bo and Van are boxes, but they're not just boxers. They're also doms or dominants who frequent a particular sex club.
Okay.
So now Allie learns that Bo and Van have never acted on their romantic interest in Allie because of Allie's brother. They have this bro code that it's hands off. They don't want to ruin their relationship with Eric. So Allie is kind of annoyed by that because she would love to get to know both of them better.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. And around this time, she also learns, surprise, that there are DOMs at this club. So Allie is determined to get Bo and Van to break their vow by unleashing her inner nasty girl. How does she do that? Well, you're going to have to read the book to find out. Because
Oh, I am
yeah,
intrigued.
yeah. So Allie puts herself out there in a big way. And ultimately, the guys are faced with a difficult decision: avoid the temptation of forbidden fruit or give in to their baser instincts.
Ooh, I hope they give in.
Spoiler, they do. So, Triple Knockout contains a sexually adventurous woman who is extremely relatable because Allie is very enthusiastic and interested in learning the BDSM experience because she's an avid reader of erotic romance novels.
Oh, I like that twist. That's
Yeah.
a little twist. I
So
like that part of it.
yes, yes. So it makes her very relatable. She's super likable. She could be awkwardly funny at moments because she's just blown away by some of the things that she learns. So yeah, she's super likable. And then Bo is the cinnamon roll dom, and Van is the alpha dom with a penis piercing.
What?
Okay. I didn't realize you could have a cinnamon roll dom. I just always assumed they were always going to be
Yeah.
alphas.
Well, here's the thing. There's a B storyline, a great B storyline about the relationship between Bo and Van. And you come to realize he might be a switch. So,
Okay.
okay. So he's dominant with, a scenario that involves Allie, but it seems like he does kind of want to be a submissive
Oh,
Van.
okay.
But okay, so I guess I told you that, but I didn't tell you any details. Okay.
Okay.
Um,
It'll be
so
our little secret.
it'll be, yes, our little secret. What else does Triple Knockout have? I'll tell
Ooh.
you. We have buff guys, taboo fantasies, sex club membership, domination, submission, bondage, vibrating toys, and countless Sounds like I was having one.
Yeah.
And countless orgasms with surprisingly little recovery time.
Wow, I've never heard a sex scene described that way. I am like, oh my, I don't even know where to look.
Okay. Now, as far as sports, are there any boxing matches? Not that I recall, but there's a lot.
But with everything you just described, I don't even know if I'd remember that they were boxers.
I know. It's kind of buried a little. So Bo and Van do a lot of boxing training together. So like
Okay.
there's scenes of them boxing together, and there is one very memorable scene in which Bo, Van, and Allie engage in a threesome on the gym weight bench.
And my brain just went in like 30 different directions because I'm thinking like logistics, and then I'm thinking like cleanliness. And then I'm thinking, was it a private gym?
Well, that's a good question. I don't remember. So usually, when you go to a gym, people do wipe off the equipment. So I'm assuming that it's clean.
I'm hoping they follow the same like courtesy guidelines as
Yes, let's hope. But it was a very hot scene. So honestly, boxing was almost kind of like secondary to the story, but it did exist.
And that makes it a sports romance in my book.
And it is a sports romance. So I recommend Jodie Redford's Triple Knockout for fans of hot sex, provocative prose, and loving poly relationships.
You have certainly intrigued me, Liz. I will definitely pick it up. I don't know if I'll be able to go to the gym without blushing for a few days, but I'm willing to give it a shot.
It is engrossing. Yeah.
Oh man, I love it. I don't even have a segue for that.
There is none. We need a moment of silence.
I love it. I don't even have a segue for that.
There is none. We need a moment of silence. So, what sport would you like to talk about next?
We're going to talk about the only one I really like. Well, that's not true. Let me rephrase that. We're talking about my favorite for writing, but I do watch other sports. But hockey. We're going to hockey now.
Oh, I knew it was going to be hockey.
It's here. It's here to stay for the rest of this episode, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So the first one I want to talk about is called Mile High. This is by Liz Tomford, and it's independently published. This is book one in her Windy City series. The second one is already out, and I will talk about that in a second. And the third one comes out later this year. And actually, Leslie, who we had on the show a couple weeks ago, talked about her love of this series as well. So I just had to share my 2 cents because I love it too.
I'm glad you're here to also speak about it, because I came across that book just looking at sports romances, and I said, oh, Leslie mentioned it. Mm-hmm. So, and I was like, maybe I should get it. And then I got distracted and I didn't. So based on what you say, I might download it today.
I think you should, because I think you'd really like it, because let me explain what's going on here. So it's got our favorite tropes in that it's, this is spicy. Not as spicy as what you just described, but it is still spicy. It's a rom-com, again, not as many as the Sarah Adams book I just described, but there's a few LOL moments. The other thing I like about this is there's a sense of found family. I know that seems to be coming up in more and more romance books, and I really like that element, because it usually means that the secondary characters are pretty well developed. So this story again, we're in Chicago, and it follows Xanders, who is the bad boy of hockey, because there, of course, has to be a bad boy of hockey, and it should be Xanders. He is everyone's favorite player to hate. And he likes this role, and he plays it well. He is, in the penalty box in almost every game, and he makes it his job to leave the arena every game with a new lady on his arm. So he's no fuss, no muss, no relationships, just have a good time, cause some trouble, repeat. The flip side of Xanders is our heroine, Stevie. She is so sweet. I really liked her. There were a lot of relatable moments with her throughout the book. She is a flight attendant, and she's been working as a flight attendant for years, and decides to take a new job with an NHL team. And again, here's our question, because they did say NHL, but I digress.
Okay. Another person who should be sued then. Yeah.
We'll add it to the list.
We're cracking down here.
So Stevie likes this new gig. It's different. Obviously, the pay is good. But there's one thing she doesn't like, and that is the snarky, flirtatious Xander, or Xanders, because he is always pressing her call button, and that is not a euphemism.
Whoa.
So they start flying together, and they're driving each other crazy in different ways. And for Stevie, it's very important for her not to blur the lines when she's at work, because this is an important job for her. She's currently living with her NBA superstar brother. So this girl is in the world of professional sports.
She's in it deep, and they mention NBA as well.
They mention NBA, and
more lawsuits.
not to skip ahead, but her brother Ryan is going to be the hero of book 2, and so that one is going to be NBA focused, which that is a sport I actually watch and enjoy because I think it's the easiest one to follow.
Yeah, you know what? When I lived in LA, I used to enjoy going in person to watch the basketball games. Like that to me was, like you said, easy to follow, and it was just a lot of fun. So
I don't think I see nearly as many basketball sports romances out there. Football, baseball, and hockey, and occasionally soccer, depending on where I'm looking. But I mean, obviously, hockey is king right now.
Right.
And for good reason. And there actually is hockey in this book, not as much as other books I've read. Honestly, a lot of this takes place on a plane, or I should say, at least the memorable parts.
Because hence they're always, title Mile High.
Yep. So, but it is, it's so good. But the thing I like about it is it's like the normie with Stevie being, and I don't want to say just a flight attendant, but she's a flight attendant. She's not a celebrity. She's not rich. And she's very focused on, living her own life and not relying on men like Xander's or her brother who have a lot of money. She is living with her brother right now, but she's, she has her pride, I guess.
You continue with your theme of people who don't have their own home.
Yes, you're right. I just realized another homeless woman. And actually, now I'm going to skip ahead. That's the premise of the second book, because the second book in the series is The Right Move. And that has Stevie's sister Ryan and her friend Indy, who is another flight attendant with her. Indy doesn't have a place to live. And guess what? Not to give it away, but book 2, Stevie's room is now open because she's living with Xanders. So Indy moves in with Ryan. And so then that's going to be the whole thing. And I loved both of them in this story. Again, the secondary characters are so good. And, so good. Anyway, but with this story, and I don't want to give too much away on the plot, but Xanders is starting to realize he doesn't want to just live this, Playboy lifestyle. And Stevie's starting to realize that maybe she doesn't need to be as uptight about her rules for her life as she has been. And of course, those two decisions happen at the same time, and it makes it, a lovely story. So it's steamy. It's a little longer than I would have thought. I think it was pushing 400 pages. Which me is not usually my speed, but the pacing of it was so quick it didn't feel clunky or weighed down. And it was one of those where, and I like this as a reader and a writer, you knew exactly what was going when they would introduce certain characters. I'm like, there is no way Indy's not getting her next story or her own story. And then I was pleasantly surprised when I saw that she is going to be in The Right Move, which is already out. So, and as you can see behind me on my shelf. So definitely going to be picking that up soon. But this is fun. It's silly. It's steamy. There's a lot of good character development, because sometimes when you pick up a steamier book, and this is not a complaint, but they just don't seem to have as much, meat on the bones of the characters. But this was definitely, it was a perfect balance. So I can't say enough good things about Mile High by Liz Tomford, and I can't wait to keep reading the rest in the series. So we've done hockey, we have done boxing, and we have done football. Liz, where are we going next?
We're going across the pond to football, but it's actually U.S. soccer,
I love it. All right.
Libby, normally when we discuss sports romance, it's typically with a male athlete and a female love interest. But I have something different.
Are you going to flip it around?
I'm going to double it up and flip it. I'm going to flip it and double it. I have a lesbian sports romance with 2 footballers or soccer players in England. This is a friends to lovers romance by Ma Binfield. Step by Ma Binfield. Published by Bold Strokes Books in 2019. And this was the author's debut romance at the time. And Ma has since published two more books with Bold Strokes Books. I reviewed this book actually for All About Romance online. A devastating breakup convinces Iris that she is a failure at relationships and unworthy of a second chance at love.
Oh.
So she refuses to date. She eschews any type of desire, intimacy. She wants none of that. But Iris's resolve falters when American Cameron Hansen joins Iris's London law firm and the football team. Oh, now I remember what it is. The law firm has a football team.
Instead of like a softball league.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
okay.
And they play other, I think, law firms or something to that effect. Okay. Cam moved to the UK with her jerky fiance. Okay.
Mhm.
And he's very inattentive. He's like, I don't have time to, explore with you. So Cameron and Iris become friends. And Iris shows Cameron all about London, all her favorite haunts, all this exciting stuff. As Iris and Cam grow to respect each other as teammates, they also bond over their love of running, poetry, and reading.
Mm.
And they start to develop romantic feelings for each other. And this is kind of like Cameron's bi awakening, because up to this point, I believe she had only been with men. So as Cameron is starting to feel these romantic feelings towards Iris, and Iris definitely has a serious crush on Cameron, things happen that I can't mention, but eventually they fear risking their friendship and disrupting their lives. And it becomes painfully clear to Cameron and Iris that, quote, the smallest steps are hardest to make.
Oh. Oh, this sounds like it's going to be like heartwarming and like.
Oh my God, it is a deeply emotional romance. There is a beautiful friends to lovers arc that I do think about still from time to time. It was so beautifully written. The romance journey is a steadily paced narrative that builds a believable love story and creates delicious sexual tension that, according to my review, I wrote, leads to a powerful lovemaking. And I don't think I've ever said powerful lovemaking outside of this review I wrote for
this
One
book.
Small Step. And I thought I should mention that.
Well, and I think just your choice of phrasing has actually moved this higher up the TBR list, because I'm very intrigued by the powerful lovemaking.
The powerful lovemaking. I really had a fancy turn of phrase when I wrote this review.
Oh, it's fabulous. I can't wait to read it now.
And not only do Iris and Cameron, or Cam, fall in love with each other, but they learn to love themselves better, which is also, I found that in a lot of romances, I have responded strongly to books where not only do two people fall in love with each other, but they learn to love themselves more. And this is one of those books. And now, as far as the sportiness, there actually is a strong B storyline centering on the successful yet underfunded football team to which Iris and Cam belong. So basically, the law firm isn't putting in a lot of money into this team that, they're like, hey, look at these other law firms' teams. And, they have like good equipment and everything. So there's this whole like, hey, you should be supporting us better.
Yeah.
So there is also some talk about, real world women athletes being underrepresented, in the world.
Nice.
And so I enjoyed reading that in this novel as well. And also, I don't think I've ever read a lesbian romance with a couple who are teammates. That's a whole other level of relating to someone.
It adds to their dynamic.
Yeah. So I really love that. Also, there's a lot of descriptions of London. They visit so many different places that actually exist, because I looked them up. So it's just a fabulous like feel, to the whole book. You feel like you've traveled to London.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. And, you're also seeing everything through Cam's eyes because she's American. So, it was really,
I like that.
yeah. I highly recommend One Small Step by Ma Binfield. It is perfect for fans of romance that explores a couple with the courage to fight for the love that they deserve.
I'm going to use your word again. That was a powerful description. Oh no, and I love that. I kind of like that they're not professional athletes and that it's more of a passion project for them.
Yeah.
And like you said, the teammate dynamic. Oh, I'm really excited to read that.
So I know we have another hockey romance.
Yes.
Which one do you recommend, Libby?
And actually, this segues nicely because I'm going to kind of take yours and flip it. This is a By Awakening with Two Men. Him by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy.
Oh my God, wait a second. Oh my God.
Is this the one you're going to talk about next?
No, it's not. Oh my God, I just got chills. There's something going on here. Okay, so I did not read it, but my next book is written by Serena Bowen.
No way.
I went down the rabbit hole and I saw that she has written with Elle Kennedy.
Yes.
So I started looking, so I put on my list one of their books, Top Secret, which I don't think is a sports romance.
But I've heard of that, and that's supposed to be really good.
And then as I was reading, someone said, oh, the best book that Elle Kennedy and Serena Bowen wrote is the book Him. So then I looked up Him. I was like, oh, this sounds good. So I'm excited that you're going to talk about it.
Oh, okay. And it is okay. And this is, oh my God, I'm like so excited. I can't stop shaking. Okay. So the reason I found this book is, and we have talked about this ad nauseum, when I was done reading Heated Rivalry and The Long Game, the first thing I needed to do was find a book similar to it because my brain was like, why are you not reading more gay hockey romance?
Right.
So they re-released it with new covers in 2021. And so I think that has just found a whole new following. I don't know if it's because of Heated Rivalry becoming popular around that time or what, but I don't care. I'm just happy it happened. I read both books and the little bonus novella in 2 days. I literally almost missed a deadline because I was so obsessed with these two characters and their arc. It is ridiculous. And now that I'm talking about it, I'm going to have to read it again. So it's Him is the first one, Us is the second, and Epic is the little novella that comes at the end. This is, like I said, it's an sports romance. One of the characters is out and the other one has a By Awakening. This is friends to lovers that was heartbreakingly good. It was just so good. And it is a new adult / college romance, which is usually not my go-to with ages. I usually like them to be, late 20s and up as a personal preference. But this is one I couldn't have cared less. It was just so well written. And I'm curious, I don't know which author wrote which point of view because it's obviously dual point of view. But either way, they're both just, so good. I'm just sitting here it's so good. So, and I'm just going to read the general premise because I kept trying to come up with my own way of paraphrasing and I kept giving too much away or squealing in the middle of thinking about it. So I'll just go with what the publisher said. Here's the general premise. Jamie Canning has never been able to figure out how he lost his closest friend. 4 years ago, his tattooed, wisecracking, rule-breaking roommate cut him off with no explanation. So what if things got a little weird on that last night at hockey camp the summer they turned 18? It was just a little drunken foolishness. Nobody died, no reason to stress. Or is there? Ryan Wesley's biggest regret is coaxing his very best friend into a bet that pushed the boundaries of their relationship. Now, with their college team set to face off at the national championship, he'll finally get a chance to apologize and see his friend face to face. But all it takes is one look at his longtime crush and the ache in his heart grows stronger than ever. I mean, oh my God, Liz, I'm dying.
Oh my God.
So Jamie has waited a very long time for answers, and he walks away with more questions than answers after their first interaction. They decide to both take a spot as coaching in the youth hockey camp where they met. And let me just say, things get crazy and fabulous all at the same time. This is it's sexy as hell. I've read both of these authors' books separately, and they're always spicy and always delightful. This has that level of yearning and tension and self-discovery and sometimes confusion and almost self-hatred for brief moments. Just very similar to how Rachel Reed wrote the Heated Rivalry books. And I think that's why I just latched on to these characters.
Yeah.
There are sweet moments between them. They have a lot of inside jokes. There's some really sweet scenes where they give each other gifts. I don't want to say too much because as you can tell, it's more of like a feeling after reading this book, and it's hard to articulate all of the reasons. But it is the second book, Us, where they're obviously together because hello, it's a romance. The secondary characters they introduced in the second book are so good. And I ended up just like, and I think I found out that one of the hockey players has a separate book separate from this series, and I'm excited to read that. But just the way that these two authors work together, it reminds me of Christina Lauren, where if I didn't, well, obviously it says both their names on the cover, but if I didn't know this was written by two separate people, I wouldn't believe it because it was seamless. Like it has distinct voices between Wes and Jamie, but just oh my god, they just flow so well together. And it has those moments where you know they're friends and they're doing the I don't want to mess up this whole relationship, but it is just the dialogue and just their interactions are just like heartbreakingly wonderful, and in some cases heartwarmingly wonderful. It felt like a very true friends to lovers, like the way they describe their friendship. It does have hockey in it, like actual, again, important to the plot if that's your jam and you're not just here for the hockey players. But their writing together is so good. I cannot say enough good things about it, and I don't want to spoil anything with how any of it goes, but it is literally probably when I was working on our list of the best books we read in 2023, it was hard not to add this to the top 3 because as you can see, I'm still really excited about it. But yeah, it is just and please read it next. Like it is so good. I cannot say enough good things about the Him series by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. Like chef's kiss perfection.
Oh, I got chills. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's so good. It's upsettingly good.
Yeah. You know what I've noticed about friends to lovers romance? I've recently really gotten into them. And I think it's because right at the start, it is the highest stake possible.
Yep.
It's the highest stakes that you'll find in romance is a friends to lovers, because right there you can lose it all by losing their friendship in taking a romantic, detour.
Taking the chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the way, like, and again, I'm not saying that I love every single friends to lovers, but if you like both the characters and they're written well and there's depth to them, I felt like we got a lot of depth with these two right out of the chute.
Yeah.
And that was something that really just helped ramp it up. And the fact that they had lost touch for years because of what happened at the beginning. Oh my God. Oh, it just added to it. It was so good.
Now I have a solo book by Serena Bowen.
Oh, perfect.
And Serena has written a number of hockey romances.
Which one are you going to talk about? Because it might be one that I've already read.
I'm scared.
I know.
It'll be too exciting if you read it already. Our heads are going to explode. This is a book from the Brooklyn Hockey series.
Okay.
It's called Love Lessons.
Oh, I haven't read that one yet, but it is on my list. Tell me everything.
Okay. So Love Lessons by USA Today bestselling romance author Serena Bowen, published in 2022 by Tuxbury Publishing, which I believe is the author's publishing imprint.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So this is book 7 in the Brooklyn Hockey series, and it features characters from her Brooklyn Bruisers series, published by Berkeley. Love Lessons is an opposites attract hockey sports romance with a makeover and lessons in seduction trope and a vacation fling in Italy.
Oh my gosh, it has everything.
So I'd like to point out that this is my second sports romance that is set primarily in another country.
Yeah, overseas.
So, here we go. Ian is a rough around the edges hockey player for the Brooklyn Bruisers, which I think is the best name for a hockey team.
Agreed.
And Ian has had a lot of bad press lately. So management wants him to get an image makeover, starting with cleaning up his unkempt appearance.
Oh.
Enter Ian's next door neighbor, Vera. She is a stylist. Vera is actually considering getting back together with her ex, who previously told her she was boring in bed.
No.
Yes. Okay. So Vera and Ian strike a deal. That should actually also be part of a trope, like a deal. Like there's always a deal
Yeah.
to be made.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah.
Let's
Oh.
make a deal. I think that should be the trope.
That should be
Let's make a deal. So this also has the let's make a deal trope. So Vera says, I'll help you with a makeover if you teach me the art of seduction, because I'm going to be attending an event with my ex, and I think we might want to get back together. Even if we don't get back together, I want to show him what he's missing out on. Either way, I need to really up my seduction game. Now, Vera is actually friends with Ian's teammate's wife, and they have a story in another book. So Vera is included in this big group vacation that Ian's teammate and wife is throwing and hosting. So everyone goes to Italy, and that's where Ian and Vera teach each other much more than either bargained for.
Yes.
Of course, Ian doesn't really want a relationship. So he's like, oh, this will be great. Like, I'm attracted to her. This will be a vacation fling. And, I'm just setting her up for success with future seductions, and that's it. Now, it's a very layered story because Ian is dealing with PTSD and there's some things going on in his life.
Okay.
Also, you start to learn that there's also more to Vera's story as well. So I really enjoyed that it was more than what you would expect. It wasn't as surfacey as maybe someone would think it sounds as I describe it. As far as the sports aspect of the novel, it does take place off season, but the business of the sport of hockey comes into play quite frequently because there's a possibility of certain players being traded. They talk about Ian has to pick a charity because he's been made to pick some charities to work with, also as part of upping his reputation. So there's about picking charities. Ian and Vera are very sympathetic characters. There's delicious steam, a devourable read at 282 pages. Italy is breathtaking. It's very romantic. So yeah, I recommend Love Lessons in the Brooklyn Hockey series by Serena Bowen.
All right. Well, I'm going to check that out for sure. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I love these hockey books.
There's something hot about hockey players. Maybe it's just because they're all kind of bad boys because you can fight in
You
the
can
hockey
fight,
rink
but there's like a certain level of finesse with skating that I feel like it's not just a bunch of bruisers.
Right.
You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
Like
There's that duality, right?
Yeah.
Is that they have to be kind of graceful and light on their feet and almost artistic on the ice, but they also could get down and dirty.
Yeah, and they kind of just like mess each other up. No, I'm here for it.
Yes. So, what have you next, Libby?
Well, I know we're doing another sports related episode later this year, so I'm not going to like spoil a lot of stuff, but I have a couple honorable mentions that I think are on your honorable mention list as well. I just pre-ordered and it should be here, I think tomorrow, or I think on the 13th, Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey. After everything we talked about with Leslie, golf, as we mentioned, is not necessarily a sport I think of as sexy, unless we're talking about Adam Scott. The thing I'm excited about with Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey is I've been looking at some of the early reviews, and the reviews are saying that this is reminiscent of her earlier writing style with her series that came out like 5 and 8 years ago. And I'm not saying I haven't enjoyed her recent stuff, but some of the earlier Tessa Bailey is my favorite Tessa Bailey. So I'm very intrigued that readers are saying it's comparable to the stories that she wrote before. So that is on my short list. Like I said, I splurged and pre-ordered it, and it should be here within a matter of hours.
That's exciting.
So do you have any honorable mentions or things coming up that you're excited about in the sports world of romance books?
I loved Fixer Up, book 1 in Fixer Up series by Tessa Bailey. And the male protagonist is a baseball player.
Oh, cool.
But there's no baseball being played.
There's no actual games.
There's no actual games, but baseball is his thing, I would recommend that because I loved that book. I actually reviewed that one on allaboutromance.com. So if you want to know my thoughts,
I will
you
look it
can
up.
visit that. And as a bookseller, I remember stocking the bookstore with Fixer Up and I was hand selling it to people. Oh, the Bromance Book Club, I think we
Yes.
talked about. Would you
Yep.
do you have any notes
Lissick.
on that, or are we just
Yes.
mentioning it?
Well, in general, I mean, and again, I've read all of them, devoured them as soon as they come out. That's a must buy, must read immediately. I have a former coworker and friend that when we talk about these books, we would get so loud and animated. People would have to come in the back room and tell us to calm down.
Yeah, they're all
There's,
baseball players.
well, they're
Are
not,
they?
because one is a baseball player, one's a hockey player, one's a country music singer, and I can't remember the
Oh, wait,
other two.
you're right. Oh my goodness. That's
But
right. They're
yeah,
all different.
because the premise is that these are like the alpha guys. And I think it's in Nashville, Tennessee. It's been a minute since I've read one.
Yes. Yeah. No, it is Nashville
Okay,
because
good.
the Russian, he's a hockey player, right?
Oh my God, the Russian.
Yeah.
That book.
I have to read it. I bought it and I didn't read it yet.
Oh my gosh. No, okay. Okay. Honestly, you have to read that before you read the hymn books because you're gonna want to read all two and a half of them at once.
Okay.
So go ahead and read. I think that was the fourth one in the series.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good. I love all of those. It is truly my favorite complete cast of characters in any romance I've read.
Oh yeah.
Ever. Like just the way they are, they're relatable. There's some of them are just like it's almost too over the top. Like I could say like that is literally, so and so's friend or so and so's brother. Like it is so I don't know how she does it, but how she writes her characters. Although with all of those, I will say I wouldn't necessarily say they're sports romances because you don't see them playing the sports in any
You
case.
don't,
I think there might be like mention of like an old injury or something, but it's not.
Well, I think in the first book, Romance Book Club, because the first guy, I forget his name, is a baseball player. I believe that there's one or two scenes at the ball field at a game because his wife, because it's second chance romance, his wife has words with some of the girlfriends of the other players. And I think they're there for a game. So
and it kind of throws him off his game.
Yes, that's right. So I think the most sports is in the first book. Although I haven't read I read the first three books. And there's, I don't know if if the Russian there's like playing.
Yeah, but not compared to everything else we've discussed. It's nothing.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But,
Lyssa Kay Adams wrote a fantastic cast, very distinctive, all memorable.
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was also written purposely for the hope of making it, of adapting it to Netflix. Because
rumor has it the rights were bought. I have not heard who bought the rights, but it sounds like they were trying to make it into a series, which again, my head will explode with excitement and joy.
Oh God. I don't know if I could watch it because those characters to me like live in my head.
They're that's the thing because okay, perfect example with Red, White, and Royal Blue. I love that book and I really enjoyed the movie, but I do not think of them as the same thing in my brain because obviously when you make an adaptation, characters change. And in this case, some characters just flat out weren't in the story. And that was a little disappointing, but in hindsight, I totally understand why they did it that way. But that's the tricky thing with adaptations is they can either make or break, or in this case, I just like it as a standalone. I'm like, oh yes, I know more of the backstory because of the book, but I'm just going to pretend that they live in this universe. I love that darn series too much. Probably. It's probably a problem.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I guess that's it for me.
Okay. The only one I wanted to mention that I haven't read because it hasn't come out yet and it's not coming out, I don't think, until the summer. Cat Sebastian has a new sports romance coming out. Technically it's sports adjacent. I don't know how much baseball's in it, but it's called You Should Be So Lucky. And it's in the same universe as We Could Be So Good, which was in my top 3 books of last year. So this one is, it takes place in the 60s in New York. And it is described as a slow burn, grumpy sunshine. So it has a baseball player in the 60s, a sports reporter, and a grumpy sunshine slow burn. I mean, come on, like I'm already ready, and it's on pre-order, and I think I want to say late spring.
Okay, I love that.
Like you should, and the cover is like perfect. Oh my God, I'm so excited. So yeah, You Should Be So Lucky, Cat Sebastian, coming soon. 1960s baseball. Like, just give it to me right now. I'm so excited.
This has been a really solid episode, and I look forward to doing more sports episodes.
Because we only scratched the surface.
Oh, definitely. And I would love to find and read more more romances where the women are athletes. And see if I could find more of that. Maybe even a women's hockey team. I don't know.
It
That
has
would
to
be kind of cool.
exist. Let's start looking.
Yeah, yeah. And that's our roundup. Watch Romance Roundup on Rita Seeks Romance channel and subscribe on YouTube. Listen to Romance Roundup on Podbean and all podcast apps. Thanks for joining us, romance readers.
Happy reading, everyone.